Torrents of yesterday's rain have washed Sunday into Monday at Daytona International Speedway, but the track is dry, clean and green, and ready to roll for the final appearance of the Goody's Dash Series on this 2.5-mile super speedway. NASCAR's Goody's Dash Series. In its final Daytona International Speedway appearance, they'll run 150 miles, 60 laps today. The engines have fired. The field is rolling off the starting grid, where stands Speedway Illustrated's Dick Berggren.
Thanks, Mike. This is the last time the Goody's Dash cars will ever race at Daytona Speedway. And for the majority of these drivers, Goody's Dash is their series. They don't race anyplace else. So this is, for almost all of these people, the last chance in their entire racing career that they will have an opportunity to win at Daytona. And as I walked down the grid and I asked driver after driver this morning, how bad do you want to win? They told me, nobody wants to win more than me. I've seen all 24 of these. I've never seen intensity like these. Let's go to Steve Burns.
Dick, 1991 Series champ Johnny Chapman has 12 wins to his credit, but he's never been to victory lane here in Daytona. The good news is he put his car on the pole position. The bad news is he blew a motor in practice, and he'll have to start at the rear of the field because he had to change the motor. But Mike Joy and Larry McReynolds, it'll be fun to watch him cut through the field. He thinks he still has a car to win this race.
Thanks, Steve. I agree. Likely he does. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Daytona. Well, Larry, this is a series of part-time racers, Saturday night specialists, weekend warriors. When the rain slid Sunday into Monday, how does it affect this race?
I mean, it affects it a bunch because most of these teams, most of these drivers, they took a week of vacation from their regular job last week to be here with the week leading up to this race. When it was rained out yesterday, a lot of the crews had to go home. A lot of the drivers had to call in sick with hopes that their boss is not watching the show this morning.
We're set to go here at Daytona. 60 laps, 150 miles for NASCAR series for subcompact sedans, the Goody's Dash. Welcome back live to Daytona International Speedway for the Monday morning running of the Goody's Dash 150. Here's how they're scheduled to line up. Johnny Chapman, the 91 champ, on the pole. Scott Weaver, fourth here 2 years ago. Dusty Williams, one of 14 rookies in the race, and Angie Wilson makes her 5th Daytona start. Randy Humphrey, 7th here 3 years ago, and Mickey York has been in this race for all of its 25-year history. Robert Lofton and Eric Wilson in the 4th row. Justin Hobgood, he's the 2001 winner. Roger Moser, that's row 5. Row 6, Kelly Sutton, last year's most popular driver, and Robert Huffman, 3-time champ. David Heithouse and Richard Callahan in the 7th row. Joey Miller and Danny Bagwell in row 8. Mike McConnell and Greg Miller. Sean Murphy and the 2001 series champ Cam Strader fill row number 10. If you have a look back through the rest of the field, you'll see Mike Watts, the inaugural Dash winner here at Daytona back in 1979. And Ned Combs, a 58-year-old veteran who was second here in 1980. Series champ Jake Hobgood in the 14th row. Mike Gaines, age 66, the senior driver in the field. 63, rather. Last year's Rookie of the Year, Chuck Caprara, back taking a provisional back in row 20. Steve Burns.
Hey, Mike, just want to give you a report on Scott Weaver starting from the front row. He's showing some smoke, but talked to the team. They said they changed some hoses this morning. There's some fluid on the engine block itself, but they think there's no problem. The smoke should be dissipating.
And of course, there's always the fear if you change any lines or hoses, did they get everything tight? That's always a fear till you get up to speed racing.
The rain has moved out at 66 degrees, but look at that humidity. It is a muggy floor today, and there is more rain in the forecast.
And you know, the biggest thing that plays havoc with these cars here, and we watch it all the time, is the wind. You see it's 13 miles per hour, but Mike, I'm looking at the American flag, and it's the fact that it's actually a tailwind going down the backstretch. So that'll really make these cars pick up speed and pick up RPMs down that backstretch. You heard Steve Burns talk about the pole sitter Johnny Chapman having to go to the rear of the field. The 3 car as well, Richard Bryant, has to go to the rear of the field. The 10 car of Danny Bagwell, the 18 car of Jay Godley, as well as the 21 car of Doc Brewer. Doc Brewer actually had to go to backup car. The other cars swapped engines. This is the first race that the Goodies Dash has implemented the engine rule, where if you change engines, you have to start at the rear of the field.
41 cars will take the green to race 60 laps. And the pit window, there's quite a variety here. Most of these cars are Pontiacs. There have also been Fords and Mercurys in this series, and Toyotas. And there's quite a difference in fuel mileage.
Well, there is. In that 30-lap window, that's going to be a story, trust me, because a lot of teams are concerned, can they do this on one stop, one fuel stop? These things have 8-gallon fuel cells compared to 22 gallons in Winston Cup. The Toyotas have a little less cubic inches. Talked to Robert Huffman. He felt like he could go 35 laps on fuel, which easily does it on one stop.
This series was begun with small subcompact cars like Ford Pinos, Mercury Capris, and Chevy Vegas with 4-cylinder engines, and it's evolved into these late model compacts with V6 power plants, quite sophisticated. This is the only touring series of NASCAR in which a foreign make competes, Toyota, as we pointed out, although it's rumored they're headed for the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series with their Tundra in the not-too-distant future.
Now, I talked to Robert Huffman, who is backed by Toyota, and he says whatever Toyota does, that's what he would like to do with them. The hopes are maybe the Truck Series.
Pontiac safety car heads for pit road. 60 laps in the swan song for the Goodies Dash Series at Daytona. Green flag, we're racing.
These cars have an 1.6-inch carburetor restrictor plate. Because of that, it'll take them a good lap to really get wound up before they're up to full speed. These are V6s, Mike, like you said, with a 352-barrel carburetor, make about 220 horsepower with that restrictor plate.
Now, this looks like the pace lap, but they're at full throttle.
You know, Mike, this is the 3rd year we've done the Goodies Dash race here, and it somehow, some way, ends up almost being one of the best races that we have all week. We're watching Scott Weaver, the 2-car, making sure that he's not smoking. We heard a report that they changed some lines and just felt like some of the fluid was laying around the engine and burns off, and everything looks fine on him right now.
That front pack staying double file, that will help some of the drivers who may not have gotten a good jump on the start. They break a wide hole in the wind as they come down to complete lap 1.
I mean, certainly their hope would be to get in a single file, because when you're in single file, that's when the draft works the best. You're not killing each other's air.
Weaver the leader. Wilson, Angie Wilson, in 2nd place. Mickey York right up there with Williams. And Johnny Chapman has come from 34th to 25th in 1 lap. Steve?
Well, Larry Mack was talking about the guys who had to call in sick for work because of this rain delay. Actually, a good thing for Angie Wilson. She's from a little town in Marion, North Carolina. The race was scheduled for 11 a.m. Sunday, and her grandmother couldn't watch the race, Mike, because she was going to have to be in church. So everybody in Marion, North Carolina, pulling for Angie Wilson. This is her 6th attempt on this racetrack. She loves the draft and feels like she's a factor to win this race.
Yeah, and Steve, you know, her aspiration is to move on in racing, and maybe she'll even do some Truck Series racing.
7-car single file at the front of the pack, and it's double wide from there on back through about the first 25 cars. Mickey York, the veteran, has moved to 3rd. He's been in this series since its inception. They're in number 24, keeping a tight draft on Wilson and the leader, Scott Weaver. These cars, they're small, but they're not slow. They get around here in under 55 seconds, and that's hauling the mail. Dick Berggren.
Good story on car number 16, Dusty Williams, Mike. This year, for the very first time, the Goodies Dash Series is going to run on dirt. And Williams is the track champion at Oglethorpe Speedway, where they are going to run. So he started shopping around for a ride on the dirt track. Started looking last week. They suggested he call a guy named Haskell Willingham. He asked for the ride at Oglethorpe. Willingham said, hey, how would you like to run Daytona? Once Williams caught his breath, he said he'd love to try it. He contacted NASCAR. They gave him a license. He had never run a single lap, testing, practice, anything here at Daytona. He wandered around, found some friends. They all pitched in a few $100 apiece in order to put the deal together. And he is racing at Daytona. He's been fast at all the practices. Dusty Williams could well win this race in his first ever Daytona appearance.
Great story. He crossed the line 6th 1 lap ago, but now Mickey York has mounted a challenge for the lead, and it looks like, Larry, he's brought half the field with him.
Well, and that's the thing. They know he has a fast race car. If they can hook up with him, they know that he's going to be headed to the front. But yeah, Dusty Williams raised almost $10,000 to come here and race.
Robert Huffman has moved to 9th. The 3-time champion will make that 4th on the outside. I don't know if you'd call that 9th or not. But it's 4th, a yellow car, 4th on the outside row is Huffman.
Yeah, I mean, they look a lot like when they started the race, 2 by 2 all the way through the field. And Huffman has won twice here. The Goody's Dash cars actually raced here once in July, so he's won once in July and then once in the February race.
22 cars in the lead draft. Still chasing Scott Weaver, who has led the first 4 laps. There's Huffman, 37. And right behind him, Kelly Sutton, 0-2. And for the lead, Mickey York finally makes it work on the low side and comes off turn 4 with the lead.
And right now, in the position he's in, he's stretching that out just a little bit. You don't want to get too far out front, because when you do here at Daytona, the way the draft works, they'll get such a run on you, they will overpower you.
Mickey York, Eric Wilson, Scott Weaver, Angie Wilson, and Dusty Williams, the rookie, are the front 5 after 5 laps. Goody's Dash 150 rolls on. Mickey York in the lead. Later today, 1 o'clock Eastern, you'll see live Daytona 500 pole qualifying presented by Pizza Hut. Many of you will see it on your local Fox affiliates. The rest of you will see it on FX. Lots of coverage on speed. Craftsman Truck Series practice at 4 p.m. Eastern time. Mickey York is our leader. Let's find more about York from another cagey veteran, Dick Berggren.
Thanks, Mike. 55-year-old Mickey York is the only driver in this field who has run every one of the 25 dash races that have been held here at Daytona. He has never won it. His best finish, 2nd in 1989. But today is the best chance he has ever had to win the Goody's Dash at Daytona. He was on top of the speed charts in all 4 of the practice sessions. York has not won a race in this series since 1998 in Lakeland, Florida. York leads the field. Best chance ever to finally win at Daytona. To Steve Burns.
Well, Dick, let's talk to Angie Wilson's crew chief, who, oh, by the way, happens to be her father, Harold Wilson. Harold, what is your pit strategy here today?
Well, we're going to try to go on 1 pit stop. There's a real small wind down there involved about 3 laps. We're going to try to run 30 laps and then try to come in and try to make the rest way. Now, it's going to be real close, I tell you.
Okay, that's the crew chief's strategy. Now, how about the father responsibility of watching your daughter run side by side and nose to tail?
Well, you know, we've done it a long time, but right now, I'd just like to get it over with. And look how close we are out there right now. We're running, what, 34 flags. They probably throw a blanket all over all of them. We just want a safe race. We'll be somewhere just to get in safe, you know.
Hey, Mike, she's doing a great job for a girl who grew up racing on a 3/8-mile racetrack in Hickory, North Carolina.
That's a track that Ned Jarrett used to promote and has produced many NASCAR stars. Larry, they've gotten into a couple of lapped cars, and that has spread this field out just a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, we had about 22 or 23 cars in that lead draft. They're still trying to hang on each other because, again, the way the draft works, if you're at the tail end of that big pack and you get away from them, then they're going to just continue to pull away. They're going to power away. And what most of these guys' strategy will be, Mike, will be fuel only. They run a bi-ply tire here. It don't wear, it don't give up. So everybody's just looking to come to pit road mainly for fuel.
New leader, Eric Wilson, number 4, who finished 3rd here last year as a rookie, has dragged Dusty Williams with him to the front. Williams, a driver who's never raced on Daytona. In fact, I'm not sure he's ever raced pavement.
I mean, to have never been here, he is doing a well of a job, and a lot like Mickey York, he's been right there near the top of the speed charts all week long.
You know what we like to say about those rookies? They don't know what they can't do.
They just don't know any better, right?
Scott Weaver, who started front row, runs in 3rd. 5 cars single file, and then about a dozen all gang together in that lead draft. Now they're fanned out 3 wide back in that pack, and that's not going to help them to the front. As the leaders seem to have settled down for just a bit. And you see trailing that front pack of 5 just a bit, but moving in, Robert Huffman. There he is in that yellow Toyota.
Mike, we talked about a lot of these guys having regular jobs. Our leader, Eric Wilson, he has a regular job, but it's going to be in Daytona all week because he's the gas man on Ricky Craven's Winston Cup team.
I knew that name. I just couldn't, in this context, couldn't place it, but that's it.
So there's no way he could call in sick because he's supposed to be here anyhow.
Yeah, right. You know, if anything, Larry, that gap from the front 5 to the second part of what was the lead draft is widening.
And if the front 5 is smart, if their spotters are working with them, the crew chiefs are working with them like they should be, what they're telling that top 5, stay in line. Don't start racing each other, and you will just continue to pull away because this is where the draft is most effective when you're lined up like this. And as they catch those lap cars, actually they'll get a sniff of air off those cars. It'll even help them just a little bit as long as they don't have to race side by side too long with them.
These cars are running about 166 miles an hour. The Winston Cup cars didn't run that fast at Daytona until Chrysler came down here with the Hemi in 1964. First time the Cup cars had run that fast.
And they're doing that with only about 220 horsepower, so that's not bad.
Scott Weaver running 3rd behind Dusty Williams and Eric Wilson. Scott's mom, Louise, looking on as we've completed 13 caution-free laps in the Goodies Dash 150 at Daytona. Eric Wilson tows a 5-car draft around Daytona with 15 laps complete. Couple of pit stops. Pittman in the 99, a rear wheel problem. They're pushing his car back to the garage, and Haller in the 5, making an early and unscheduled stop. So 5 cars out front, and they've been pulling away, Larry.
Yes, they have. Again, they're doing a good job of staying in line, and they're actually trying to shake that 5th car right now. Chuck Gaffera in the 52 car, the rookie of the year from last year, he made an unscheduled pit stop as well. But the lead 4, again, they're putting a little distance on that 5th place car of Mickey York, the 24 car.
And that's a bit of a surprise given how quick York was in practice. Second pack, that's where things are very tightly bunched. There's Justin Hobgood, 65, and his brother Jake, 64. A lot like the Burton brothers if you think of Jake as Jeff and Justin as Ward. And they're both about as quick in this series. Justin won this race a year ago, and Jake's the defending champ for the series.
And it was a pretty interesting story on Jake Hobgood, the 64 car. Again, we talked about the engine rule. You can't change engines without going to the rear of the field. They were not happy with the performance of their engine, so what they did yesterday morning, they actually changed the camshaft in the engine, which is legal. You don't have to go to the rear of the field. What they did, they went back to a camshaft combination that they tested that they felt like was a little better.
Brothers battling side by side. And this is for 13th place.
Of course, their dad, Will, he won this race, and he was also the 1994 Series champion. Dick Bergman, I believe you can tell us a little bit more about the brothers.
Yeah, they work together during the day. Dad owns a body shop, and so during the day they pound out dents for other people's automobiles, and the day ends at 5 or 6 o'clock at night. The two boys and their dad, then they go to work on their race cars. And these are not bought race cars. These are home-built race cars. They chalk the lines out on the garage floor, put them all together themselves, and almost everything on those cars is hand-built. They do it the old-fashioned way.
And they are a neat family. I mean, they really are great to talk to.
I'll tell you, at the banquet in Greensboro this fall, you could see just how much this is a family sport. And the runner-up for the championship, who was Huffman, the past champion, he and the Hobgoods have had their on-track differences, but Huffman's aunt did a beautiful painting of Jake Hobgood, presented it to the Hobgood family at the banquet. A great show of the sportsmanship and camaraderie that's long been the hallmark of this series. And there is Huffman battling on the high side with number 23, Robert Lofton. Now, Huffman, we expected to see him right at the front, but he's reporting that that Toyota's a bit loose.
It's going to be a little looser
that
if he's not careful. See him giving the hand signal right there. What he's telling the 45 car there to stay in line behind me. Stay in line, and we'll be able to get away from this pack right here.
It's David Height's house. But Huffman's got some work to do if he's going to be a contender. Now there's Hobgood looking on the bottom in that red 64. And now his brother, instead of battling side by side, Justin is lined up right on Jake's spoiler. See if they can bust their way through this pack. Just ahead of them is Lofton, 23. And up on the high side is number 9, Combs. That's Ned Combs, who's running this race since 1980, as has Mickey York. Eric Wilson continues to lead at 19 laps in the Goodies Dash 150 at Daytona. Live at Daytona, Eric Wilson has led 12 of the 21 laps so far in the Goodies Dash 150. Comes around to put 22 on the board. This race has not been without its action.
This is something right here that you don't want to do at 165 miles an hour. The red car, the 64 car, that's Jake Hobgood, beaten with the 9 car, Ned Combs, the light blue car that was coming off turn 4. Now they're coming through the tri-oval at the start-finish line, and they're going to get together again right here. Now that can get you in big trouble, but if anything else, if you start, we got trouble right there.
And that's Weaver, the outside pole sitter, Scott Weaver.
Running in 3rd place. Everybody's caution is on the speedway.
And that happens coming out of turn 2. Everybody goes low to miss him. There's his mom listening on the scanner to make sure he's okay. Did not see what triggered that. I'm not sure if he'll be able to get that car started and brought around to pit road, but we're under the first caution of the day. Comes out at lap 23 for Scott Weaver.
Of course, you saw his mom there listening to the radio. All she was wanting to hear that I'm okay.
A lot of smoke coming out that exhaust pipe area.
That may be an indication he possibly lost an engine.
Let's see.
Going through turn 2 right here. There it is. He lost an engine. You can see the smoke coming out the exhaust pipes. He got into oil. Oil got under the rear tires probably. Oil or water. Spins around. Hits the outside wall.
And that happens right in front of Angie Wilson, who now likely has a windshield full of fluids and some of those missing parts.
And very lucky she didn't get in the oil or water, whatever it was. You're going to see right here, these cars have 1 roof flap on them, unlike the Winston Cup cars that have 2 roof flaps, but you saw the roof flap deploy.
In real time, here's what happened to Scott Weaver.
You know, Mickey York in the 24 cars, he was coming across the racetrack, just barely got by him.
Well, somebody tell Louise the window net's down, and he is okay. But that race car is going to go up on the rollback to make it back around to pit road.
And that's what, of course, NASCAR tells the drivers to do. If you're okay, let your window net down. That's a sign to the emergency workers, hey, I'm okay.
And it was smart that he did not do so until the whole field had come by. All right, Larry, we're only 23 laps in. We're not yet in the fuel window, are we?
But, you know, for people like Robert Huffman in that Toyota, we may very well be. And I see a lot of them pulling down like they may come to pit road. Also, Mike, they may be counting on caution laps here because here at Daytona, 2 caution laps equal 1 green lap. And pretty much everyone's coming to pit road here at lap 24.
And I agree, Larry. I'd pit just because as this race winds down, give yourself more options, because should they go back to green and stay green through lap 30, everybody'd have to make a green flag stop. Steve?
Gas only stop for Eric Wilson. In fact, most of these teams will not take tires. They don't want to give up track position. 8-gallon fuel cells. Let's go to Dick Berggren.
Henry Manis is the gas man for Dusty Williams. They're having a lot of trouble getting the fuel in this car. He's had to twice put the gas can in it. Fuel is spraying. This whole pit area is loaded with fuel. Williams still on pit pit road. One of the last to leave. He has stalled the car. A terrible pit stop for Williams, who had been running in second spot.
It looked like Eric Wilson, our leader, he won the race off pit road. He'll keep the lead. Again, all of these cars mainly taking fuel only.
Again, this race postponed to Monday from Sunday, and these weekend warriors, I saw one driver who could not find his pit because there was no pit board. There was no pit board because there were only 2 crew members to service the car, and they were busy. Welcome back to Daytona, where Eric Wilson remains the leader after a caution for an apparent blown engine on outside pole sitter Scott Weaver. Here's number 16, Dusty Williams, who was running in the front 5 before pit stops. But look what happens here when they try to fuel this car.
I mean, this is what we call a drive brake, and it's kind of a quick disconnect. And the secret is you have to be lined up. You cannot be cocked at all, and it took them a long time to get that fuel in there. And he had a very lengthy pit stop. As you say, Mike, he was running right up near the front, and he has fallen all the way back. We'll find him here in a second. He's fallen back to 16th. Very long pit stop. See, it's like it's not wanting to take fuel. These are only 8-gallon fuel cells. It should only take about 5 seconds if you were completely empty. It just wasn't wanting to take the fuel.
Tough break for the dirt tracker. He falls from 2nd to 16th. The big gainer on those stops. Number 93, Randy Humphrey, from 5th to 2nd. We stay under caution for at least another lap here at Daytona. We'll be right back. Getting set for the restart to start lap 28 of 60. Doubtful that all the cars can make it on fuel after the stop during this caution period for Scott Weaver.
You know, one thing they may be counting on, Mike, I mean, weather is definitely lurking close by. 3 more laps, we will be halfway, and it'll be an official race, so some of them could be counting on that. Danny Bagwell in the 10 car, his problems continue after going to the rear of the field after an engine swap. He was too fast on pit road, faster than the 55 miles an hour, so he had to restart it to tail into the longest line, which put him all the way back to 29th.
Wow, tough break for Bagwell, who finished 5th here in 1998. And he'll have to come from back to front once again. 33 laps to go. Good pit stop for Randy Humphrey. Went from 5th to 2nd. That's where he sits behind Eric Wilson.
And I tell you, Mike, our pole sitter, Johnny Chapman, he has made his way to the front, and we're not even halfway. Remember, he had to go to the rear of the field because of an engine swap as well. He's all the way up to the 6th position in that 33 car. And I think...
Oh, trouble out of turn 4. One car slid up the banking and collected the number 7.
That's a 7 car, Arlene Pittman, up against the wall right there. Caution is on the speedway.
Larry, that wreck was not of her making. Another car that was running inside of Pittman broke loose and put her sideways coming off turn number 4. She's a racetrack promoter.
Yes, she is.
When not behind the wheel.
You know, we could see a couple different strategies here. As I talked, under caution, you get about 2-to-1 ratio on caution laps to green laps. If some of the guys were borderline on fuel, they may stay out, try to conserve fuel on these cautions. Some at the rear of the field, though, they have nothing to lose by coming in to top off.
These cars do not race back to the flag. Let's see who comes up there, up and down.
Yeah, she was definitely a victim right there.
The Hot Tamales car right in the middle of the pack. Went inside, outside, and collected Pittman.
Very lucky more cars were not collected in this wreck.
All right, Larry. 29 laps complete this time. Do you come in and top off?
Well, right now they can't come in because pit road is closed this time because the pace car has not picked them up. So we'll have to wait a lap and see, Mike.
Eric Wilson continues to lead Randy Humphrey and Zach Brewer. Welcome back to Daytona, where we are under caution in the Goody's Dash 150. And a few drivers in mid-pack have chosen to peel off and come down pit road. There's Dusty Williams, along with the 18 of Jake Godley and the 17 of Mike Watts from Tennessee. A couple more cars as well.
Mainly cars at the rear of the field. They really don't give up no track position by coming to pit road, but I just have to believe the leaders are banking that there's going to be enough cautions to get them to the end. Steve Burns, how about pit road?
Hey, Larry McReynolds, Eric Wilson in that 4 car told his crew he wanted to come in and top off at lap 30 or the lap after that. But the problem was the crew just now got the gas can down there. They're trying to get it in position. As Mike Joyce said, a lot of these crews short-handed today, but just in time for Eric Wilson to come in and top off if he needs to.
Well, after they fill that first can, Steve, it's a walk of about a quarter of a mile down to the 76 station behind pit wall to get those cans refilled. And as you see, oftentimes the biggest race is not the one on the track.
It's who can get their fuel back to the pits the quickest.
That's it. Dick Berggren.
Well, a lot of teams are having trouble just getting fuel into their cars. Danny Bagwell just left the pits, Mike. That's his 3rd stop. They had trouble getting fuel in the car. Dusty Williams, who had that horrible pit stop, he had been running up front. They just couldn't get fuel in it. Almost immediately when the fuel can went into the tank, it splashed back, got gas all over the gas man. He couldn't see what he was doing. Despite the lengthy pit stop, they didn't get enough fuel in the car. So Williams has been back in again, and they took almost a full can of gas. A lot of people, Cam Strader's another one, didn't get all the fuel in the car, so we're seeing a lot of trouble just getting gas in these things today.
The caution is for Arlene Pittman, who was run into by 18-year-old Scott Haller, the youngest driver in the field, and they are taking some time getting her out of the car against the wall near the entrance to pit road. Safety crews there working to help her out, but as far as we know right now, she is still in the car.
We see a few more pit stops being made. The Hobgood brothers 64 and 65 car on pit road.
A little problem getting Jay Godley started there. There's the damage on the number 5 of the Thomasville, North Carolina driver, Scott Haller, who initiated this crash that's put us under the 2nd caution. Larry, there's a lot of ways to break into big league stock car racing, but folks, you're about to hear of a brand new one.
I'm gonna tell you, this is the neatest story I think I have ever heard during Speed Weeks. TJ Majors, who started back in the 25th position, how he ended up racing here was on the internet computer simulation racing games. He was racing, and he was racing none other than Dale Earnhardt Jr. He was consistently beating Dale Earnhardt Jr. Dale Earnhardt Jr. was so impressed with him that he got in touch with him, and that's how he ended up here. Dale Earnhardt Jr. is supporting this whole effort. They're going to run the whole circuit, and Shane Mill, who is the son of Steve Mill, who works for DEI, who now runs the Busch Series, who he actually graduated from the Goodies Dash Series. He's the crew chief for TJ Majors, and TJ had a little problem in practice the other day, went up and hit the wall. The entire DE fabrication gang from Dale Earnhardt Incorporated went over to the Goodies Dash garage and repaired this race car where he didn't have to go to a backup car. But Dale Earnhardt Jr. was very impressed with this. It all started on a computer simulation game.
And it looks like he's even picked up one of Junior's sponsors, Remington Arms, for this race. That is the most unique way of getting to Daytona inside a stock car I've ever heard of.
And he won't tell you the fact about he was beating Dale Earnhardt Jr. pretty consistently. He won't tell that story.
All right, we're just past halfway, 1 lap past halfway. This is going to be a lengthy caution, so the leaders are coming to pit road because if they fuel now, they can go the distance.
Now, the one car that stayed out, and I'm not surprised, is Robert Huffman. Again, he told me this morning he could go about 35 laps, so he easily can go the distance. Steve Burns, how about the 4 car of Eric Wilson?
And just topped off with gas, and the 33 of Johnny Chapman topping off right before him. The 4 car had a little bit of trouble getting around Chapman in the 33, but everybody's safely done with their service, headed towards the racetrack.
Whoa, a spin on pit road. I wouldn't want to be that official right there. The man who, they call that the lollipop man, because he holds that stop sign that's shaped like a lollipop.
Hey, David.
The rest of the field was still coming by on the racetrack, so you can't let the cars that pitted out until the whole field goes by. That is a brave man indeed.
And he never budged, I don't think. But yeah, I mean, it was such quick pit stops. As you said, Mike, the whole field wasn't by yet, so he had to hold the stop sign up.
We had a couple cars in the grass, one lock up the brakes and spin around. This gets kind of ugly down here. Now, you're supposed to be down there single or double file, but you see what happens when everybody locks up the brakes.
He continued to do his job. That's actually Mike Lancaster, the official.
Well, attaboy, Mike. I wouldn't want to face that snarling group of cars. Here's another look at it. Ned Combs on the outside. Now they're going to stop behind Eric Wilson. Just your typical chain reaction deal, like you see on the road near you.
And one problem, we've had so much rain here, you notice pit road is still a little bit wet in the outer lane right there, and obviously the grass is still water soaked.
And Mike's doing the backing up boogie there as those cars are on rushing, and who can blame him?
If he wasn't budging, he was just backing up a little bit.
I think it was Angie Wilson who spun, was the last car coming in there, and locked the brake up, spun a bit to the grass, then got back in line. Sunday, NASCAR on Fox presents the 45th annual running of the Great American Race, the Daytona 500, and we'll be here right through June to bring you all the action and excitement of your favorite sport in a manner that only Fox can deliver. Tony Stewart starts his title defense. Dale Earnhardt Jr. comes off his Bud Shootout win as one of the favorites. The Daytona 500 on Fox. Coverage begins noon Eastern next Sunday, 9 a.m. Pacific. We're under the second caution of the day, and the sun pokes through here at Daytona. 34 laps of 60 have been completed. Robert Huffman's Toyota stayed on the racetrack during this caution, and he assumes the lead. Here's a look down through the entire field at halfway.
You still have 27 cars on the lead lap, and I think pretty much the strategy is out the window because everybody has topped their fuel cells off.
Let's get to pit road and Steve Burns.
And getting back to the TJ Major story for just a second. Now, Shane Meal was a rookie in the NASCAR Busch Series last year as a driver. Now you're a crew chief.
Yeah, I'm the appointed crew chief anyway. It's I just want to say all these guys are the ones that are making all this happen. Dale Jr. supporting with TJ and all this, and it's been real fun. We stalled out right here, but we're about to come in and get gas, and I think we're going to go all the way. We got a really fast car. We just missed the draft a little bit.
How do you like being on this side of pit wall?
I like the other side a lot better. There's a lot more pressure on the crew chief than there is the driver, but I hope I found my calling as a driver because I'm not the crew chief.
All right, now, your dad, Steve, here, has been a crew chief for a long time. Of course, the technical director, is he giving you any advice?
Oh, yeah, I couldn't do it without him. He's over here. He's walking around somewhere hiding from the camera, I'm sure, but yeah, he's helping me out a lot.
Okay, good luck, Shane.
Thank you.
Now, Steve, I've been telling them for years there's more pressure on the crew chief than the driver. I've been saying that for years. And also, Dale Earnhardt Jr. loaned his spotter to TJ Majors, Ty Norris, and obviously we know what kind of job Ty does spotting as we watched the Bud Shootout the other night. There's Steve Mill right there.
Steve on the radio. TJ Majors right now is running in 25th position. The field has been jumbled up quite a bit due to pit stops. Robert Huffman, the leader, is a three-time champion of this series. Hopes to make it 4 this year in an abbreviated schedule. Let's take a moment to explain why this is the final Goody's Dash race at Daytona. NASCAR has realigned their touring series into 2 levels. The Winston West and Busch North series have become the Grand National division of NASCAR, the final step in touring series to Craftsman Truck, Busch, and Winston Cup. The 4 touring series that share common rules, the Northwest and Southwest, All-Pro, and International tours out of the Midwest, will be the Elite division. Just below the Grand National division, and then below the Elite division is the weekly racing series presented by Dodge. There's really not a fit in that format for a series of compact V6 powered cars. So NASCAR has informed the competitors this will be their last season under the NASCAR banner, although Chris Bowles and his folks at NASCAR are working hard to try to find a home for this series with another sanctioning body. They will run an abbreviated schedule this year, about half as many races as they ran in 2002, their final year under the NASCAR banner, and a dirt race included.
Yeah, the Savannah, Georgia, April 5th, that's a dirt race. It's the first time the Goody's Dash Cars has ever performed on dirt. But yeah, the hopes are definitely that someone will pick this series up. But what NASCAR has created, Mike, is a lot like, I think, Major League Baseball. You have AAA ball, you have AA ball, a lot like the farm teams of the Major League Baseball teams.
And for Featherlight Modified Series fans, NASCAR's original racing series and its only open wheel series, that will continue as a standalone series, and it's very healthy with strong fields and quite a strong number of dates in the Northeast. Dick Berggren.
Well, car number 16, Dusty Williams, had that terrible pit stop early on in this race. He had started in 3rd position, was running very well until that bad pit stop. When we had this lengthy caution flag, he was among the very first to come in and pit. The result, he is right now running in 7th position with a very strong car, and several of the cars in front of him have not shown the kind of speed he has got. So this 23-year-old Daytona rookie, who just got a ride here about a week and a half ago, is in position to win the race. We need to talk about how the top 5 ended up being the top 5. Robert Huffman in the 37 car, Brandon Ward in the 11, Mike McConnell in the 61, Greg Goodall in the 95, and Roger Moser in the 98. They have not pitted under this caution. That's how they inherited the top 5 position. Just a couple laps ago, Gary Moore in the 00, he stayed out, but he pitted a couple laps ago. He was running in 6th. So the top 5 have not been to pit road under this caution.
Arlene Pittman is now being helped from her car. Because these are compact-bodied sedans, their dimensions are smaller. But the driver's compartment needs to be just as big as in a Winston Cup car. And with all of the safety equipment that is now the norm in all forms of Major League stock car racing, there's very little room in that cockpit for rescue workers to perform. So to get a driver out of a crashed car, a driver who's been hurt, it is very difficult, and there are a lot of things that have to be removed. They can slice through roll cages, remove parts of the roof or door if necessary, but it is a bit of a longer process to get a driver out of one of these compact cars.
I mean, it's definitely the easiest way is what they did exactly right here. Cut the roof back, cut some of the roll cage, especially if she's complaining about something hurting her.
We'll get an update for you as soon as possible, but we remain under caution here live at Daytona in the Goody Dash 150. Lots more for you from Daytona later today, 1 p.m. Eastern Time. Rained out from Sunday. Daytona 500 full qualifying presented by Pizza Hut. Many of you will see that on your local Fox affiliate. All across the country, it'll be on our cable affiliate FX. On speed, Craftsman truck practice at 4 o'clock Eastern inside Winston Cup. Alan, Mike, Kenny, and the gang at 7 p.m. Eastern. And NASCAR trackside every night this week. Steve Burns and the usual cast of experts, 8 o'clock.
The usual cast of characters.
Okay.
And you never know who might come by.
That's right. That's a neat show.
Neat guest this week. You know, Mike, I just want to quickly talk about Arlene Pittman real quick. You mentioned she's a promoter of a racetrack. She actually is a promoter of Golden Isle Speedway up in Brunswick, Georgia. A few months ago, Bill Elliott went down there and did a race, and he was struggling getting around that racetrack. She went down there and showed him the line, how he needed to be running that racetrack. He returned the favor here the other day in practice, got up on top of the truck of the radio, and showed her what she needed to be doing here. So it was a really neat story. She's a great girl. I talked to her this morning at the banquet. She received the Diplomat Award, which is basically for her general promotion of the Goodies Dash Series and of the sport in general. So just a really neat girl. She was so excited about racing here. She finished 15th in the points last year, but missed this race last year.
Right.
So this was her first time to Daytona. She said this was a dream come true just to be able to race here.
She had a strong rookie season. Now goes into year 2, and she's out of this race in an accident initiated by Scott Haller, who ran into her coming off turn number 4. We'll look for the restart this time by. There will be 39 laps complete, 21 to go, and all these caution laps play into the strategy of Robert Huffman, our leader.
I think definitely with him pitting back on lap 24, which was about 36 laps to go, with all these cautions, I'm safe to say those top 5 that have not been to pit road during this caution, they're good to go. They've conserved enough fuel under these cautions.
Pace cars in. Huffman in the White House Apple Juice Toyota Celica. Leads the number 11 Brandon Ward's Toyota down to the green flag.
21 laps to go. Still got a lot of racing. 27 cars still on the lead lap.
Huffman was not a contender in the race's opening stages, reporting his car was a bit loose. He dropped back to just barely inside the top 10. Let's see what he can do now that he's out on the point.
Well, again, he's in that Toyota, and Toyota's a victim of their own success. They were so dominant last year at the speedways. What they did, they have less cubic inches anyhow, so they put them to the same restrictor plate, so they're down about 20 horsepower. Plus, they added a 1/4 inch across the top of the spoiler, which really hurts the drag of that car. So for him to be leading this race, I would say he has every I dotted, every T crossed.
Look at Dusty Williams thread the needle coming off turn number 4. And right behind him, he's got a mirror full of Hobgoods, Jake and Justin, 64 and 65. One car sliding down to the infield grass, and that's really wet down there.
98 car, that's Roger Moser. He was running up in the top 5 before that restart. Almost looked like he just couldn't steer the car. Something broke.
Side by side at second place.
We have no caution. We are still green.
Here comes Williams. But that car has come to rest down in the grass in turn 1, Larry. And with these slick tires, not going to move. Justin Hobgood rubbing. Oh, in against the one. He hangs on to it after contact with Zach Brewer. Caution's out.
There you see Robert Huffman waving his hand, because unlike Winston Cup, when the caution comes out, the field freezes. You do not race back to the caution, back to the line.
Series champ Jake Hobgood's worked his way up to 3rd now, behind Huffman and Williams. The caution is out for Moser down in turn 1.
Coming down the front straightaway right here.
Little smoke out from behind there.
Yeah, something definitely let go on that car. Something broke. He was headed out of the trioval down toward turn 1. Because it almost looked like he had no control over the race car.
And you can see once he unlocks the wheels, Larry, he's trying to steer it into the infield and trying to keep this race from going back under caution, but the car just didn't have enough momentum left to get to a point of safety. Brings out our 3rd caution of the day. And again, that will help our leaders who did not make pit stops under the last caution. Everybody should be able to go the distance on fuel from here. It'll be 18 laps to go when they come back, working the 3rd caution of the morning. Under the 3rd caution of the morning, Mother Nature has taken the lead in the Goody's Dash 150. Rain begins to fall at Daytona International Speedway. A different storm cell than the one that wiped out this race yesterday and full qualifying for the Daytona 500. So NASCAR officials right now, they have observers in those 76 balls stationed high above the 4 corners of the racetrack, and their officials on pit road. Plus the record drivers, they can get a pretty good read on whether or not they've lost the racetrack. That is, whether there's enough water on the track that would make it unsafe for competition. There is the number 33 of Johnny Chapman, who's fought his way up from the back to 14th place now after pit stops. Steve's in his pit.
Yeah, Mike, let's follow up on the Chapman story. Our pole sitter, he had to go to the rear of the field when he blew a motor in practice with his crew chief, Larry Bratton. If we get this race restarted, can Johnny get back to the front?
Yeah, he can make it back to the front. Johnny's got a good car under him, and he's driving his butt off.
All right, thanks, Larry. And remember, Johnny Chapman, the 1991 Series champion, has never won here at Daytona. He wants that trophy, Dick Berggren.
Well, if my mother were around, she'd be mad at me because I'm standing out here in the rain. It's raining pretty good on pit road. Dusty Williams has worked his way up to 2nd spot. His car owner, crew chief Haskell Willingham. What do you think? You got anything for that 37 car?
You may have made the correct move.
He's listening to his driver right now. We'll get to him in a moment. Hang on, he says. Okay, you got anything for the 37?
We get a green flag, we can handle a 37.
Anybody else you're worried about out there, Haskell?
I think the 65 or the 64 will be hard to beat, but...
Those are the Hobgood boys.
Well, if they get together, they'll be tough. But if they don't get together, I think I can run with them.
How is this guy running up front, given that he is a rookie at Daytona and virtually no experience here?
Well, he's done an awesome job. And the car was really quick in practice. Happy hour yesterday, and I felt like we could stay out of trouble. We had the car to beat.
You do indeed. Good luck to you. That's Haskell Willingham.
Quite a Cinderella story for Dusty Williams, who sits in second place. Robert Huffman hopes his strategy is the right one. An early pit stop for fuel. He inherited the lead when everyone else came to pit road on the second caution, and now rain has a lot to do with it.
And Dusty Williams did tell me he had been here twice as a fan in the grandstand.
Come on.
So this is the third time he's been to Daytona, and here he is running second in the Goodies Dash race.
First time on that side of the fence, though. What a great story.
And I tell you, I talked to him several times this week. He is a colorful character. He is started racing, I think, in mini stocks on dirt, races the All-Pro Series last year. So he's a racer, there's no doubt. Very determined.
Let's show you how they're running with 16 laps to go. And right now, NASCAR trying to determine if there's too much rain on the track to resume competition. They are not going to halt the cars. We're not going to have a red flag, but the jet dryers will be making an appearance.
And it is an official race. We are well past halfway, so you know, they're going to do all they can to get this race 16 more laps. But right now, you know, Robert Huffman would be declared the winner should they call the race.
And why not red flag the race? They're going to. They've changed their mind. They're also mindful of the schedule. Daytona 500 pole qualifying is set to go off at 1 o'clock. All of this subject to weather. So right now they're going to red flag the Goodies Dash 150 and hope to get the track dry and resume.
We still have 26 cars on the lead lap. See, Rick Gonzalez at the 13 car there, he was born in Puerto Rico, now lives in New Jersey.
Flag still blowing from west to east and bringing a bit of rain with it.
That's our own personal anemometer right there.
That's right. That's right. We figure about 22 miles an hour.
And we can definitely tell which direction it's blowing.
Yes.
And it's unusual. Normally we get the wind off of the beach, you know, from the east. And so it's very unusual to see the flag blowing from the west to the east, toward the beach.
Unless it's bringing weather in.
Which is what is happening.
From the Gulf.
Might be time to break out our weather rock and stick it outside. If it turns wet, we know it's still raining, right?
I loan mine to Steve Burns. Dick Berggren.
Well, I'm with Ernie Black. He is the crew chief for Jake Hobgood. Hobgood started in 20th spot. Right now, he's running in contention to win. And I'm going to go through a list of a few of the things that they changed before today's race that they didn't have a chance to find out if they'd work or not. They changed the cam, as Larry McReynolds told you, but they also changed the front shroud. They changed the rear gear. They changed carburetor jets. They changed the angle of the engine in the car, the shocks, and the springs. How'd you get it all right?
Well, we didn't know. It was just a shot. It seems to be working real good. He feels sure we got a car to win if we can get started back.
Who's he going to work with to try to get this win?
The one car is Scott, and of course the Dud, our teammate. If he can get up with us, he's going to work with us.
So anybody who's fast, it sounds like you're going to team with.
Right, well, it's been working real good with Scott Cralen's car. And Jake likes him behind him because it seems to help the car.
Oh, Jake likes everybody behind him.
Oh, yeah, sure.
All right.
Ernie has been the crew chief for the Hobgoods since Will drove and won this race. He's a very, very valued member of that team and has been for a long, long time. Going to cover these cars to keep some of the rain off them. That's the compact Pontiac body. And the Pontiac has been the choice of a majority of drivers in this series.
And of course, since we are under red flag conditions, they cannot work on these cars. In fact, the 18 car of Jay Godley right now is sitting in his pit stall, but the pit crew had to cease work on the car. You cannot work on your car under red flag conditions. may have just had a little clearing shower. You just don't never know. They've had the jet dryers. The jet dryers have been very busy the last 2 or 3 days here.
Yeah, they've burned up quite a bit of fuel, and they're down now in turn 1, going to take 1 circuit of the track. A Toyota leads the Goodies Dash 150, 3 Pontiacs, and then Ward's Toyota in 5th. 3 more Pontiacs, and the first Ford in the race is Cam Strader in 9th place. Run to the red flag. Welcome back to Daytona, where the red flag is out for rain. Just finishing up the 3rd caution period. 3 for 20 of the 60 laps. 16 laps to go. The jet dryers are out right now, trying to get turn 1 dried out. Let's show you a couple of things that have happened thus far. Scott Weaver started on the outside pole and led 4 laps, but then something big let go.
Of course, almost gathered up the 06 car of Angie Wilson with her, running right there in the top 4. Very lucky other cars were not involved.
A long slide, and Weaver almost kept it off the wall.
This was the 98 car of Roger Moser. Looked like something broke on his car and went down through the infield.
That's the caution we're under right now, and now the red flag gives Dick Bergman a chance to talk to our race leader.
And it also gives me a chance to tell you, Mike Joy, that it has stopped raining down here. We have a nice breeze blowing, and that'll help dry the racetrack. But that's not what Robert Huffman needs to hear. His Toyota is down about 20 cubic inches in comparison to the other cars behind him. But here you are in the lead. What do you think, Bud? Can you hang on, keep these guys back there?
Well, it's going to be tough. It goes back to green. You know, right now we're praying for rain. You know, our fuel mileage put us in this position, and we'll just have to see what happens. You know, TRD and Toyota and Whitehouse and all these guys on the crew really worked hard this week, and you know, we're okay. It's just like, it seems like I don't have many friends out there. My one friend Danny can't get close enough to me, so you know, I just like to say hi to all my sons, little buddies back at Claremont Elementary School.
And his friend Danny is Danny Bagwell, of course. Let's go to Steve Burns.
All right, thanks, Dick. Jake Hobgood rides 3rd. He said you can tell he's the good-looking Hobgood. Question is, yeah, you look good, man. Hey, can you get to the front if we get this thing restarted?
I tell you, Steve, we got an awful good car here. We need some good cars around us to make this thing run, but you know, we've just been patient all day long, and we've been pushing ourselves there, and we had a really good run going down the back straightaway coming to this rain delay and on the leader, the 37 car with the 16 there, and just didn't pan out. So you know, 27th to 3rd is a good day. You know, we're praying for the right rain to quit, and we got a shot at this thing. We ain't giving up yet.
Well, Mike Joy, as you said, Jake is the defending champion of this series, and also a happy new father. His daughter was born December 26th, Caitlin, and look at her middle name, Rain.
Well, and you and Jake can trade diaper changing stories there, Steve, who is also a new dad.
You know, Mike, looking at Robert Huffman, the 37 car, I mean, he means a lot to Toyota. He gave Toyota their very ever first NASCAR victory on June 16, 2001 at Kentucky Speedway. So Toyota, Robert Huffman, they kind of go together, and I'm sure they're trying to grow together.
Now, Toyota moves to trucks. Folks will note they don't have a pushrod V8 as required by NASCAR. Haven't had one in some 28 years, but they're building one. They're working on it. All right, the Goodies Dash 150 has been red flagged due to a light rain shower. The fans and the gulls are at rest while the jet dryers do their work. We'll be back here in a bit. Right now, let's go to John Roberts and Ken Squire in the Speed Studio.
Well, thanks, Mike. Good morning, everyone. It's Monday, February 10th, and we're live at the World Center of Racing, Daytona International Speedway, the super speedway at the beach. Now, rain made a mess of things yesterday, so NASCAR is trying to get back on track today, and rain has taken over once again as the schedule has changed. We'll bring you up to speed on that in just a moment. We're back in the Speed Week studio high above Victory Lane, and this is an unprecedented 77 hours of coverage on Speed and the Fox family of networks. Now, joining me once again is veteran motorsports journalist and broadcaster Ken Squire, a guy who knows a thing or two about this historic place. And Ken, the rain's turned the 2.5-mile track into a mud bath once again. I think we're going to have a couple more of these lakes out there if we're not done. Again, Robert Huffman in the Toyota is first in the Goodies Dash Series race, which is under red flag condition right now, and that's a guy you know a little bit about.
Well, only that he's won this race twice previously, and he gave Toyota a victory in this event just 1 year ago. You know, this is kind of a sad occasion for the Dash cars because this is their final performance here. NASCAR is trying to find a new home for them with another sanctioning body, but they brought out a great field, started 41, 42 cars. And a little history in here as we get this Toyota make really flying and staying out in front. The question is, will it be down here in Victory Lane if we can get this thing restarted with, what, about 15 laps to go?
Yeah, 16 to go to be exact. 44 of the 60 laps are in the book, so it's well beyond halfway. It can be declared an official race if they want to do that, of course, because the schedule dictates, because it's getting so jammed up on the racetrack right now, Ken. We're going to turn our attention right now to Winston Cup qualifying. The next thing that is scheduled for this afternoon, of course, weather permitting. And Ken, let's talk now about some of the guys who we think are some favorites going in to the qualifying session. Of course, the guy you got to keep an eye on, DEI guys.
Oh, DEI indeed. They've been quick down here in practice, almost all the way. Michael Waltrip, former winner of the 500. And that Hendrick team is going to be tough.
Always like front row Joe when it comes to qualifying, and here's a guy who now has that ride all steadied up with Hendrick, and he's ready to go racing this season.
And of course, Yates was on the pole. They took it all here in 2000. Now they've got Elliott Sadler where Ricky Rudd was, trying to get the outside of the front row and get themselves another sweep. And then there's Dodge.
Evernham Motorsports has been so strong in the past couple of years in racing as they get the Dodge program back in. But as important as the guys, Kenneth, who are running fast, the guys who are struggling are just as important at this point in Speed Weeks. Kyle Petty not where he wants to be in his Dodge, neither is Bobby Labonte in his new Chevy.
No, and as you look down through here, remember there are 51 cars to turn 2 laps on this 2.5-mile track, and we only decide the front row, but we do decide the cars as they'll line up for those races on Thursday, which in my book are the 2 most exciting races at Daytona every year, those twin qualifiers.
Now, strange after testing, Ken, to see Rusty Wallace in that Dodge down as far as he is. We've seen Jeff Gordon slow in practice a lot over his racing career, and what happens is when he comes back after he gets a chance to practice a little bit more, sometimes he surprises the heck out of everybody slow in practice and comes out and grabs the pole. All right, let's go now to a veteran member of our crew. It's Bob Dillner. He's been down in the garage area since testing. And Bob, what's going on down there right now?
Well, I want to update you what is happening here in the garage area. When last we left yesterday, you saw the Winston Cup cars over in the Busch Series garage. NASCAR had impounded those cars. Walked in here this morning, all the cars are back in the garage area. But there is a Winston Cup official per car here. What the teams are allowed to do, they're allowed to wipe them off, change the air cleaner, change the air pressure in the tires, and warm up the engine. But that is it. They cannot do any significant changes to these cars. And as you can see, there are NASCAR officials taking a look at what the crew members are doing to these cars because they went through tech and will not go through tech again today before qualifying.
All right, Bob Dillner, thanks a lot. Let's go back into the garage now and join Ralph Shaheen, who again has his rain shoes on and is ready to do a little tap dancing down there for us. Ralph?
Well, you know, John, I just tried these things out last night, too, on the hotel radiator, but Raymond Fox has got the 38 car ready to go. Now we had rain yesterday, and then we get a little bit of a race in today, put a little bit of rubber back on the track, and now we got rain coming down again. So what do you do to your setups? Can you do anything?
No, I mean, they limit you so much. Pretty much when you get down here from testing, you're pretty much ready to go. You just try a few things to get a little bit faster while you're here. If it ever stops raining, I think, you know, we'll get qualifying going. Hopefully we can qualify in the top 5. I mean, everybody comes down here to qualify on the pole. I mean, I think we've got a good shot at it, but I think a good top 5 qualifying position will be good for us. And then we'll go from there, and we'll try to race well in the 125s and learn a lot for the 500, and then hopefully we can win the race.
Your car is one that went right through the room at Duval.